Hello, and welcome to my Real Stories compilation. So, I'll be telling 100% the truth of how I've perceived these stories that I've experienced in my life. Some of them I was a little kid, so maybe my imagination was messing with me, but with that aside, let's just jump right into the first one. So, my very first story, I was around 18 or 19 at this point in time, and I have a friend who claimed his house was haunted. I didn't really I wasn't really sure if he was telling the truth or not at first, but I would go to his house sometimes, and it would be nighttime, and we'd sit on his couch in the living room and just hang out. We'd just hang out and talk, and eventually we'd hear like thumping on the walls, or we'd hear the lights flicker, and just stuff like that. And eventually we would just get up and leave the house just because it kind of freaked us out. In that same house, that friend who lived there claimed to have seen a ghost boy in his house. And a few other friends have also had instances where they saw a ghost. But unfortunately, I have not seen him. And the last time we went there, it was me and two friends, and we were about to leave the house, and we started messing with the ghost. We started saying things like, "Hey, move that tennis ball over there," and just stuff like that. And after like a minute of like talking, eventually we all heard the same thing. We heard footsteps from upstairs running across the hallway, and as soon as we all heard it, we all instantly ran out of the house. And we were outside panting, trying to catch our breath. And we all said the same thing. We all heard the same noise from the same location. And at that time, there was no one else in the house besides me and those two friends. The other things that the other friends have told me in that house, one friend saw in the reflection of a microwave, he said he saw a ghost in the reflection, and when he turned around, no one was there. And another friend saw the little boy ghost upstairs. Like, he turned around and he saw him upstairs, and then the boy ran into the room, or just one of the rooms. And then that friend went upstairs, looked around the room, and just said, "Well," and just walked out and sat outside for 2 hours until his mom came home. Alright, for the next story, I had an encounter with a shadow person. So, at this point in time, I'm probably 8 years old. I don't know the exact age, but it's around that age. And I was laying in bed one night, just trying to go to sleep with my eyes closed. And just for whatever reason, I opened my eyes, and... Alright, just try to imagine this. I'm laying on my right side, and the room to my door, the door to my room is opened, and the hallway light is on, but my light is off. So you could imagine some light on the ground coming into my room. Well, I remember seeing a shadow of what looked like Jason Voorhees on the ground. And I remember, okay, at this point in time, I know who Jason Voorhees is. I've seen the movies of him, and it really did look like the shadow of him. But I mean, just imagine it's a silhouette. It's not like I could see like his features or anything. And I remember seeing him like kind of move, like you know when you stand there, you're probably not completely still like a statue. Well, I could see that the shadow was actually moving and like breathing. And he was also holding a machete, which is why I always think of him as Jason Voorhees. And immediately, as soon as I saw it, I was scared stiff, and I was too scared to even move. Which means I was stuck staring at the shadow on the ground. And eventually, after maybe a few minutes, I don't know how long, I eventually built up the, uh, I guess, power to flip over. So I'm laying on my right side. And basically I did like a hop to flip over and lay on my left side. And from there, I finally had the ability to sleep. And then when I woke up the next morning, there was nothing. And also one thing, I know it was not sleep paralysis because I've had sleep paralysis in my life, like a few times. And I know I would not have the ability to flip over like I did. And then another thing similar to this, like I guess a different story, but I had a dream of a shadow person around that same age. I don't remember what happened first, me seeing the shadow person or me having this dream. But whatever it was, I had a dream where it was just a normal dream, but at the very end, the hallway light is on and my light is off to my room. And I remember I walked into the room and it was dark. And then behind like my dresser, a shadow of a man came up. And right once I saw that, it felt like my feet fell asleep. And I spun around and I fell to the ground. And I was crawling out of my room. And then I woke up right after. But also, that shadow wasn't the shadow of Jason Voorhees. Alright, next story. It's around the same age, the same house that I was living in at the time too. So, and this one's really short. Basically, I was laying in bed one night, and for whatever reason, I thought in my head, like I wanna look in my dresser. I don't remember why. I think I wanted to like grab a pair of underwear and socks just to be ready. I don't really remember. But I remember I sat up and looked in my dresser and I saw a mask that looks similar to the masks on screen right now. But it wasn't smiling or frowning. It had like a blank expression, but it also had purple lips. Like its lips were like lavender colored. I remember looking in my dresser, seeing that, and instantly I jumped back and laid in bed, and I was scared stiff, but eventually I passed out. And then I woke up, and the very first thing I did after waking up, I looked in the dresser, and the only thing that was in the dresser was just whitey tighties and socks. But there was nothing that was lavender or purple or anything. So, I don't know. But also, it's not like I saw like a blurry image of a mask or like it looked real. It looked like actual porcelain and like I don't know. That one's hard to explain. But for the next story, it's another one where I had a dream, but this dream stands out to me a lot. Basically, I just had a normal dream, and then at the very end of the dream, someone said, "Oh wait, you're," and then they said my first and last name. Well, that's weird because my first and last name is at the front door. And I was like, really? And then they opened the door, and then all I saw was a bunch of like shining light and a silhouette of what looked like my silhouette. And I also heard, "Oh," as it happened. And then that's where my dream ended. That dream, it just stands out to me. I don't, it doesn't feel like every other dream. It was really bizarre. Especially the thought of me at the door while I'm me on the other side. But alright, for the next story, this one is also when I was a kid. And I remember my mom was driving the car, and I was in the back seat. And I remember just looking out the window, like I usually do as a kid when I was being driven. And I remember looking up in the sky, and I saw kind of what was on the picture that's up right now. But it was, what I saw was a super detailed ship. Like, it didn't look real. It was just so perfectly detailed. Like there's no way a cloud can just look like that. And I was like memorized. I was just staring at it and I couldn't look away. And eventually we drove far enough to where we finally passed it up. And while we were driving past it, I thought of telling my family about it, but I just didn't. I don't know why. I was just so mesmerized. But yeah, the next story. I was pretty young at this one, but not super young. Maybe around like 12, or maybe a little older. I'm not sure. But I remember being in one of these bathrooms while we were out camping, and I was in the stall, and sorry, one second. Okay. Okay, so yeah, back to the story. I was sitting in one of these stalls, and I remember hearing a foot tapping in the stall next to me. And in my head, I was like, oh, okay, that means there's someone in the stall next to me. So I gave it a little bit, and then I remember looking under the stall, just for whatever reason. And I remember seeing no feet or anything, but I was still hearing tapping noises. And from there, I got super scared and I sprinted out of the bathroom. What it possibly could have been, maybe someone outside of the bathroom, or maybe water tapping somewhere, like dripping. But I don't really know. Like, it really did sound like it was coming from the stall next to me. So that's what freaked me out so much. Alright, the next story. Maybe you guys have heard of the Mandela effect. I wouldn't bring this one up normally. But this one really, really, really stands out to me. So, if you don't know what the Mandela effect is, basically, there's like this kind of phenomenon where a bunch of people like have memory of something being a certain way, but it turns out it was never like that. And one that really took off a couple years ago was the Berenstain Bears. The title was either spelled Berenstein or Berenstain. And if you were to look at a book right now, it would say Berenstain. But a lot of people were saying, huh, that's weird. I remember it being spelled Stein. And me, I kind of don't remember super well. I kind of do remember Stein, like more than I remember Stain. But the Mandela effect that stands out to me the most is this one. I really do remember seeing the cornucopia on the picture in my younger years. And I remember I was at the mall one day, and I was like 15 at the time. And my whole family was there, but I think we like split off. And then I was looking around for some underwear. And I remember looking at the packaging on the Fruit of the Looms. And in my head, I just had this random thought. I thought, oh, I liked it better when the cornucopia was on the logo. So that random thought, like, that's not even a thought that I would think would even matter, like, at all. Or have any kind of relevance ever. But it turns out, because I had that thought, and then after I saw on the internet this whole Fruit of the Loom thing happening, it really freaked me out. Now I'm like a 100% believer in the in like the Mandela effect. So whatever it is, I don't know if it's like a timeline shift or something. Whatever it is, honestly, I believe it. Alright, next story. This one's another dream one. At this point in time, I'm like age 20. And this dream really stands out because, okay, so before it was just a normal dream. And I remember I was walking along like I don't know how to explain it, what it was. It was like a giant V shape in the ground. And I was just walking, and in my head I was like, oh, well, if I fell down there, that would be a really big inconvenience, because I would tumble, and then I would land at the bottom, and then I'd have to climb out. I just remember walking kind of dangerously close to the edge. And next thing you know, I fall down, and I fall to the bottom of the V shape. And eventually, or I mean, not even that long later, a bunch of rocks fall. They don't crush me, they land like above me. And it's like, oh, okay, like, at least I didn't die. But then there was like a pipe next to me, and a bunch of water started coming out of the pipe. So basically, the scenario I was in, I'm going to drown because there's rocks above me, and there's water filling up. And in that moment, I was like, huh, I'm actually going to die. Like, that's the only time in my life where I actually thought in my head, like, oh, I'm just going to accept death right now. This is it. I'm going to last for like 2 minutes, and then it's all over. Everything that I've ever experienced ever adds up to this moment. And then, I mean, that was it. Alright. And for this last story, it was me and 2 other friends, and we lived next to a haunted street called Dyer's Lane, or at least at the time we lived there, or near it. Like, I don't know. It was like, it was a bit of a drive. But anyways, so it was me and the 2 friends in the car. My friend was driving, I was in the passenger seat, and one friend in the back. And we were just driving there, it was a thing to do. It was nighttime, and so we decided to just drive over and just hang out and drive down the street, just for fun. I don't know. Also, one thing I should add, the street has, I guess, bad history. I guess years and years ago, people would get hanged in that area, and people claim that the street is haunted, which I believe. I believe in ghosts, and I believe in, like, paranormal things. Even things I haven't experienced in real life, like skinwalkers, for example. But, yeah, I do believe that this is a crazy world we're in, But anyways, so yeah. So we're driving down the street, and we see this red car, and for whatever reason, the driver decided to slow down next to the car, and all of us looked inside of the car, and we all saw the exact same thing. We all saw a man. He was wearing a hat, and his head was all like contorted. It looked like someone with huge hands like wrung out his head like a towel. And as soon as the 3 of us saw it, the friend in the back screamed, and the driver stepped on the gas, and we drove off. And then after some panicking, we eventually all said, yes, we all saw the same thing. He had a hat, his head was all twisted up, and we don't know what that was. It could have possibly, like, if it wasn't a ghost or anything, it could have possibly been someone who parked a car there and put up like a prop or like a dummy just to prank people. But I mean, would someone really do that? I don't know. Plus the street's haunted, so I don't really know. But alright, that concludes all of my scary stories. Thank you for listening. See you guys next time.